Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
We are live, boys, in 3, 2.
All right. All right. All right. All right. What's going on, Facebook land? You got with us Doc, the man Jeff Skinner with Black Level, and the lawyer of all lawyers, KC Ashmore. Today we're going to be touch base.
Honorable KC Ashmore.
The honorable. Correct me. Sorry about that. Belay my last. The honorable KC Ashmore. And today we're gonna talk on a subject that's near and dear to me and probably to many of you small business owners, and that is excuses. Right? We've all made them for ourselves. I've made them for me. I've made them. We always can just come up with some sort of excuse on why to procrastinate on getting new clients. Why we can come up with excuses on why do we don't want to take it to the next level. To the black level. I have some don't tread on me. I got this for my birthday today. What? Those people love it.
Hey, happy birthday.
Oh yeah, by the way, let's stop real quick.
No, don't worry about all that.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Cheers.
Give them one.
Cheers. So we're
can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, hop in.
Doc, there aren't enough words in the old American English language to express the level.
Oh my God.
A friendship that I know we share. The sentiment is so strong, but the means to express is weak. I could recount the many glorious times of camaraderie that we have shared. We'll skip some of that. Fun Casa memories shared on the square, running 5Ks, kids swimming in the pool, the laughs at band of brothers, sisters, and friends, deals we've tried to make work. But why, Doc? Why? Can I call you Doc? Why go through the history of a friendship that will certainly endure all hardships, even the coronavirus? Yes, even that. To think that it all started with a simple campaign sign in your yard. I don't know whose sign you had in your yard. It wasn't mine. Who would have ever thought it would lead to this friendship, this unbreakable bond? And now here we are on this day, the day of your birth. How do we say happy birthday in a way you will remember, that will express our friendship memories in a way that hasn't already been said? Just 2 words. Happy birthday. There has to be more, but there isn't, Doc. So happy birthday.
Thanks, guys.
So goes the story.
So goes the story. Yes.
I was hoping for a little bit more explicits in there because I have a few I can give them right now, but I love the guy. So happy birthday.
I got man.
Allegedly Fowler wrote that, so it was pretty plain vanilla.
So I'm sure that's feet up on the desk, doing absolutely nothing, working really hard. Right, Fowler? Where you at?
Hey, Kevin.
You know what? I was in the independent bank this afternoon, had an appointment, and did the Corona distance or whatever. And I'll tell you what, that office is just as quiet as when Fowler worked there. The exact same level of activity now as it was when he was there. Nothing.
What do you think their excuse is?
Well, they're painting their building, so they're taking advantage of rehabbing the inside of that building while the Rona is on.
Hey, so let me ask you something, real talk, KC. When you decided to branch away and start your own law firm and settle in Rockwall, I mean, what were some of the reasons that you decided that you didn't want to do it? What were some of the angst that you received and excuses that you came up with on why you shouldn't go out and take your shit to the next level?
Man, there's so many.
Let's be real clear today. Candid is what we want to be today, because I don't mean to cut you off, but just tell it from the heart, Casey. I think people really want to know true struggles. Just hit us with it, man.
So there was a huge lack of confidence in myself, in my ability to believe in myself. And, what it really took for me to finally do it, what pushed me over the edge, was just getting sick of seeing how other people mismanaged or did things in a way that I knew I could do better. And, I had this notion in my mind that I needed to go to work for somebody to learn my craft, to do that. And I will say that there are some great things that happened in that 10 years that I was in practice, helping other people in their business. But because I did learn some things, I did get some mentoring. I got some great friendships I still have. But on the other hand, I made a lot of excuses about, I don't know how to make the phone ring. I don't know if I can afford this lease on this tiny little, I was looking at this tiny little shit box of an office off of what is now the design district. But back then, boys, that was a shit pit called Industrial Avenue, where you only went to get cash. Excuse me, you could get a lot of checks cashed, you could get crack cocaine, and every once in a while there might be a warehouse open if it was chopping up a car. Now,
Nice.
in the last 10 years, that neighborhood has totally come to life. You know, it's the art district, it's all the design shops for everything that's going on in this booming economy. But 10, 12, 13 years ago, it was a dump. It was a dump. You only went down, like most of those industrial offices were closed. And, you know, I was like, here I was sweating a sublease at $450 a month. Like I couldn't come up with that. And a lot of it was just, you know, lack of confidence, didn't have enough belief that I could hack it. And eventually, you know, just got fed up to here with watching the sweat of my labor line the pockets of others. That's really what it came down to. And I got to the point where I knew I could do business better. I could do it more efficiently. And that's what drove me out to start my own thing, and literally opened it up in a closet here in Rockwall County, Texas, and a one-room office with just me and no phone. This was the phone, right? I mean,
That's still an iPhone 4, it looked like.
yeah, it actually is the iPhone 3.
Was it a dictaphone?
Phone.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
so
one thing that drove me nuts.
When you said that the lack of confidence, was that your excuse? What was the change in momentum? Outside of knowing, you know, what you just told us, what was the physical thing that changed in you? Because I believe in all of us that there's a moment where we feel it here in the heart, or we feel it in the head, but there's something. What was it? Can you pinpoint it?
For me, it was
To help you get over that confidence thing.
Yeah, so I had inherited a case, and I had kind of grown into this place in my two law firms that I worked at in Dallas, where if a case got, you know, tied up in a bunch of knots, it usually came to me to solve the problems. And I got a call from another lawyer, a guy I went to law school with, and this case was so snake bit, he didn't want anything else to do with it. And there was other reasons why. And it was against probably the most worthy adversaries I've ever been up against. They had an unlimited budget. I got a call from another lawyer, a guy I went to. Oh, we got a little feedback there. And
Doc turned his dictaphone on.
Unlimited budget, and I was up against literally maybe one of the biggest law firms in, if not in North Texas or all of Texas, certainly in Dallas, Texas. And, you know, like I said, they had unlimited resources. I think they spent $6 million trying to kick my ass. And
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you what, we gave as good as we got. And it really felt like, you know, Rocky Balboa, Apollo Creed title fight.
Yeah.
And in many, many ways it was, and it went right down to the wire. And it was that case that gave me the confidence that I know what I'm doing. I believe in myself.
There you
And more importantly, you know, when you start looking at the numbers that you're performing at, and you start thinking of it as a business, then you start realizing that you can go very quickly from need replacement to income replacement to income growth. And that didn't happen overnight. You know, every overnight success is, you know, 10 years down the road of playing in, you know, dive bars, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this business is like, and every business is like. Nobody sees the 4 a.m.s, right? Nobody sees the, you know, 768 days a year you're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going to bed at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And the weekends you're grinding and, you know, getting up early so you can spend time on Saturday and Sunday with your family, but still getting up at 4 a.m. so you can get in that extra work. And it's not an overnight success to get from I can replace my needs with the sweat off my brow instead of giving that money to someone else. And then once you replace your needs, you can start thinking about ways to grow your business, replace your income, and then start truly growing your business in leaps and bounds. And, you know, it does take confidence to do that. It takes a lot of perseverance to do.
Great word.
You've got to believe in go back to Think and Grow Rich, Zig Ziglar, Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, all of them come down to this simple idea that if you truly believe on a fundamental level in the idea that you have that can provide services that solve people's problems, you know, more money has changed hands in the selling and exchanging of personal services than any other business in the world. And by that, that's just about every business in the world. But, you know, billions of dollars trade hands in personal services, the things that the three of us do, and the things that the people in the RVBA do. And that's more money than Ford Motor Company makes in a year, right? Just the exchange of business services. But all those exchanges of business services come down into a belief that you can do it better than than the people who you used to work for, the people that drove you out to be an entrepreneur, notwithstanding the good things that they taught you and maybe some of the hard lessons that you learned about how not to run your business at those places. But, you know, pushing that belief out into the universe and then getting some good back from it.
KC, you when you brought up the word belief, it kind of said that was probably one of my biggest roots of where my excuses came from, is the lack of belief in myself, right? The lack of experience in running a business, the lack of knowledge that I have was one of the main drivers for the excuses that I gave myself as to why I don't want to hire somebody, why I don't want to scale my companies, why I don't want to do this or the other. It became the belief in myself is what kept me from growing, which in turn was one of the biggest excuses I had to overcome. Yeah. Right. So, and I didn't really start to get belief into myself, even though I was seeing the paychecks roll in and I was seeing the clients add up over time and I was seeing the brand get larger. I still didn't believe, right? It still wasn't tangible. It still wasn't, wow, Mike, you did this, right? There wasn't that accolade that I was looking for to say, you know what, Mike, you now need to believe. And it wasn't until actually I started to dive deeper into fellowship with other like-minded individuals is where my excuses left the table, right? Because I was held accountable by those that I surrounded myself with. Whenever I gave an excuse, they were like, that's bullshit. You know, they called me out on it, right? Which needed it to happen. Nobody was out there calling me out on all of my reasons why I shouldn't do something, right? But when I started surrounding myself with like-minded individuals, successful business owners, and they're calling me out on my BS, that's when the excuses began to go away. Not that I still don't make them. I mean, I really do. I can look at my alarm clock at 5:30 and I can say, well, I really don't have much going on today. Why should I get up at 5:30? But there's a reason I've formed a healthy habit where I'll still get up. Maybe I won't do anything. I'll make some coffee and maybe dive into a little book, you know, whatever. But as long as I keep maintaining that habit and that lifestyle, I can only sharpen that. And it's kind of like sharpening the saw. Jeff, you're still super fresh in the small business sector of the world. I'm sure you had a shit ton of excuses on why you didn't want to leave the big job in California and go off and branch out. Or why you
Man,
didn't want to do this or that?
no, you know, I didn't lack confidence. I didn't lack the belief that I could do it. Both of those I knew I had, and I had a burning desire inside of me. Where my excuse came from was financials. My excuse was strictly based off of money. And if I was to sit here and tell you it was anything different, I'd be a straight liar. I had a business plan. I knew I could do it. I ran two separate companies in San Diego that were upwards of $5 to $10 million companies just in AV. Imagine that number, right? Imagine someone putting $500,000 into one room. So it wasn't the fact that I had any lack of confidence in knowing my industry and being, on point with that. Everything I had an excuse for all revolved around money. And I worked, Casey said it, man. The people that say, he made it overnight, bullshit. Yeah, that just doesn't happen. You guys know straight up for 2 years and some change, man, I was 7-8 days a week, Sundays, Mondays, and it was grind, and I'm still there. But I always had the excuse of, well, making six figures is hard to leave behind, or the benefits are hard to leave behind. But I tell you what, 3 years later, now being in my third year with Black Level AV, dude, I wouldn't change it for the world. All of the stress that's involved with being a small business owner, all of the grind, the hustle, the marketing, like Casey likes to say, I was the head honcho, the dishwasher, the whole deal. I'm still that, and I'm still loving it. But I couldn't get away from the fact of having a physical paycheck every week come in without question, without even thinking about it. It was there to, what's this? Is it going to happen? So that was
shifted. What shifted? What made you make that curve? Where did you decide to say, you know what? The hell with me not being, the hell with money. I'm going to do it.
Well,
right. So that's the
goals.
Right?
I set goals.
Right. Where that's the goals, right? But there was a shift, just like you asked KC, there was a shift where it said,
yeah,
you looked at your wife and you looked at yourself and you said, it's now or never. Because at the end of the day, we're never, ever, ever going to be ready.
No,
right?
Absolutely. Great.
At the end of the day, we're never 100% ready to take any sort of new leap of faith, any sort of new leap of challenge until we do it. So there's got to be something that clicks over in our mindset that says, why not? Let's do it. No risk, no reward.
I can tell you, it happened in November of last year. I set 3 goals. I wanted to have a certain amount saved. Well, first and foremost, I wanted my family to be on board. Number one, above all, I wanted that confidence and that belief from my family. And once I got that, then it was turned into sustainability with income. And once I got to a point where it was like, okay, I'm at a point where I'm good to go. I just kept inching myself closer and closer to the edge to where I could jump off the deep end. And it was just a click in my mind like that. And my wife was on board. My son was pumped up. The family was on it. And I just made the jump. If you guys remember, I did everything I possibly could to make things right with my San Diego employer by even flying out, having the discussion in person. So I was completely clear in my conscience that it was time to go. And I can't pinpoint exactly what it was, but it was just a mindset shift. Okay, I'm in. I'm all in. I'm good to go. I'm at a point where we can live for a year now, even if I don't make a paycheck. And as soon as I stopped worrying about money, that's when business got good.
Yeah, so that's huge. So now we know, and now we're able to recognize the excuses that we come up with ourselves. Now let's dive a little bit deeper on the excuses why our clients don't want to come and use us.
That's a whole nother subject.
Right? That's a whole nother bucket of excuses, right?
I look like I just got out of jail sometimes.
Oh, bam, right? So I look like, right? It looked like freaking straight up Harley Davidson, Hell's Angel, looking like Thug, right? Like, I don't know who this guy is. You don't know nothing, right? So that's another whole different facet of business. One is the excuses we give ourselves while in business, why we don't grow, why we don't expand. A lot of times are the objections that we give ourselves. But secondly, we now have to deal with the excuses and the objections of our clients, which in turn sometimes second guess the choices that I've made about going into business for myself. If I can't convince a client to use me, I'm not going to make the paycheck. My family's not going to be supporting me. My kid's going to think I'm some deadbeat ass dad.
Yeah.
Right. And so what have y'all done? And I can kind of expand on what I've done to help overcome objections, help overcome people's hesitance to sign a contract. And that is, I assume that you're already going to work with me before we ever shake hands.
Can I jump in there too? Because I've learned to say no, and that's a hard thing to do. You know, a lot of people leave that out of the discussion with sales, and there is a point with every transaction on both sides where the transaction has to make sense for both businesses. And for the longest, I was making excuses during the course of the business. I need this job. I need that money. I need that sale. I need that sale. And I finally came to a point about 6 months ago where if a client doesn't understand the value in my business, it's okay to say no. There's a professionalism that's along with it, but it's okay to say no from time to time. And I've had to do it 3 times in the last month.
Yeah. And that's understanding your value, understanding your worth, understanding your experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure Casey has turned down clients, right?
Yeah.
But they want to beat them. They want to beat the pennies out of you, right?
I mean, there was a time though when I felt like I could not afford I couldn't afford not to. And there's a lot of, I'm glad Jeff has learned from, the excuses that I used to make, and I would put up with very difficult situations and sometimes, client difficulties, payment difficulties. And,
I'm sure
on this notion that, I gotta have this. I gotta have this to hit my goals. And, the problem with that is an excuse. It is a small-minded excuse because it is a mindset that there's not enough. Yeah. And anytime you're thinking about not enough or about holding on to what you did before, holding on to the 6 figures you made at Dewey, Cheatham, and Howes in Dallas, Texas, where they're ass raping files left and right. And, the fact of the matter is you don't need to do that. In fact, you shouldn't do that if you're going to practice law ethically. But, at the end of the day, grinding out, if you're going to take a case that is basically a burr in your saddle, sooner or later, man, your horse is going to buck you off, because that burr is going to grind into that. And, so your staff is going to break down from dealing with a difficult case or a difficult client. And then the other thing is, and this was difficult too, when you get a price objection, you got to know your worth, and you got to believe in your worth. Again, It comes back to that belief thing, but I would listen to a price objection and I would want to close the deal, right? So I want to get that work because I can't afford to take it away, because I'm in this mindset of not enough, right? I'm in this mindset of I got to replicate the $100,000. Well, why would you want to replicate what, again, you're going to be the worst boss you ever had. You're going to be the worst drill instructor you ever had. So if you just want to replicate the 6 figures you had in San Diego or Dallas, don't, save yourself the physical and mental abuse of being the biggest asshole you ever met, and go work for the other asshole, right? Because at least you knew that devil, right? That's the devil you know. You don't know what kind of a devil you will be to yourself, to push yourself to just to get to that, to replicating your 6-figure salary from San Diego or Dallas or California or Ohio or wherever you may be. But that's the mindset of there's not enough, and you need to go. If you're going to do this, you got to believe in yourself, and you got to believe that there's way more money out there. And that's a hard thing to do because, I didn't have a year's salary saved up like Jeff Skinner. I literally left the proverbial good job in the city, like Creedence Clearwater Revival said in their song, with a farmer who was at war with a local municipal government and no other clients. And I mean, that's a giant ass leap of faith. And it felt like I was leaping for 4 or 5 months. And, but things started turning around. And a lot of that came into belief and doing excellent work, doing it better, doing it more efficiently, and putting good out in the world brought good back. But it got me over that excuse of, man, I just got to grind out this shithole job for one more year so I can save up a year's salary so I can afford to go out on my own. That's
You know what though? I'm telling you right now, man, if you're in business and you're primarily focused on money, it may work for a while. Like we've talked about this in the past. Doc and I have actually talked about this quite a bit. So Casey, if you're in business for money only, it's doomed to fail. That's just the bottom line to it. You should be in business, and I've learned this from my circle of friends, these two gentlemen right here, to build trust and to give back to the community. All the money stuff, man, is going to come. God's going to provide. You know what I mean? Like it's going to happen. So mindset, we always talk about it. Mindset is everything, man. Overcome the excuses and push through.
Yeah. So there's some good, that's some good takeaway that we have here today on excuses. We all deal with them on a daily basis.
Yep.
No matter how big or how small, it's still an excuse, right? Like, what's the reason not to do the dishes? You know what I mean? What's the reason not to make the bed in the morning? You know what I mean? But if we develop those healthy habits where we do those, I make the bed every morning, because if we start off the day with a win, and it can be as simple as making your bed,
Brushing your teeth.
right? Those are wins all day. And I've learned now to count the small wins, because if I get a whole shit ton of small wins, I got one big ass win for the day.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of good synergy being created the more small wins we make, or even the medium and the large wins. Right. And we tolerate those more, and we're able to stay even more humble because we appreciate the small things.
Yep.
And as we continue to grow, those small things turn into huge things. Just like you stated, building relationships, giving back to your community, developing a network of friends and mentors that you can see grow. None of that has to do with money, but has everything to do about gaining wealth.
Very true.
Right?
Very
and
true.
whenever you really create wealth, the excuses become smaller and smaller, because the belief in you, the success of your company has began to pivot and grow by leaps and bounds.
Well, I feel like you could almost say too that those excuses become solutions, right?
Yeah.
You turn that bullshit that you're thinking into the right mindset and right solutions. So we're going to keep this one short and sweet today. You guys want to get involved in the RVBA, you let us know, reach out to us on the Facebook page. I mean, we're all around town, all over the place. If you see us, we're always looking for not only veterans, but patriots as well. As you know, as of 2020, the Rockwall Veterans Business Alliance is now open to all patriots and veterans. So
right.
Build your circles, build your wealth, build your friendships, and give back to the community. That's really what the Rockwall Veterans Business Alliance is about. So we'll sign off, because I know Doc's got the car and he's about ready to rock and roll. It's his birthday. Hey,
happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Hey, I'm throwing it out, y'all. If y'all want to come down to Sideways, eat some good barbecue. I think they're doing some jamming, enjoying the weather. Come down to Sideways. Let's celebrate a little bit of birthday party with Doc, Casey, Jeff. You guys are always welcome. And
that's funny you say we're welcome, because I didn't even know about it till my wife just texted me. So
I didn't know about it either. They actually kicked me out of the damn cigar club text thread, and I think shit went down. I don't even know about it.
Hey, but on a serious note, I appreciate you two gentlemen more than I can explain. Doc, we go way back. I love your brother. Happy birthday. I'm super proud of you, man. Keep grinding, baby. That's it. Casey,
yeah, for sure.
Semper Paratus, brother.
Semper Paratus, guys.
No, you're supposed to say Semper Fi back, man.
Oh, Semper Fi.
Yeah,
there you go.
Sorry, Marines.
Right. Until next
Happy
week.
birthday, Doc.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to grow. Fuck your excuses. That's all I can say.
That's
right.
it. And we're ending it on that. Get at it, boys.
We're out.